Indeed, this conversation is about the right of socio-spiritual orientation. You see, when it becomes time for an umxhosa pre-initiate to shed the tag of ubunqambi, that is ritual impurity, he is taken through a process of socio-spiritual orientation, known in siXhosa as ulwaluko. Now here, I'm not talking about male circumcision. I'm talking about the sacred rite of socio-spiritual orientation, which is known as ulwaluko in siXhosa. And by pre-initiate, I'm referring to a person known as inkwenkwe. Yet I choose to say pre-initiate instead of boy. Now there is a reason for this choice of terminology. You see, in the context of ukwaluka, the term inkwenkwe assumes a unique connotation. Unique insofar as it begins to typify a particular category of the not as yet initiated male person. The male person it typifies is one who is already on the threshold of being put through a ritual process, which process will cause him to transcend ubukhwenkwe by becoming cleansed of ubunqambi, ngokuhlambeka ubunqambi. So, with the foregoing conception of inkwenkwe at view, the common English meaning of the term boy in reference to a prospective initiation candidate would not be appropriate. Hence my substitution of the term boy with the descriptive compound word pre-initiate. And I think that is self-explanatory. Well now, as I've said in my opening sentence, when it becomes time for a pre-initiate to shed the tag of ubunqambi, he's taken through a process of socio-spiritual orientation known as ulwaluko in siXhosa. And that activity of ulwaluko, it takes place at a location or site that would have been reserved and appropriately consecrated for this purpose. And for the duration of that orientation period, the site or location is regarded as a sacred precinct. Now, we all know that such locations or sites are referred to in quasi-disparaging terms as a school in the bush or mountains. But this is by people who have no reverence for the spiritual and sacrosanct character of our sacred rituals. And there are some people who agree with that. I don't. I simply don't agree that these sites or locations should be typified in those terms. No. I would prefer that these locations or sites be described or referred to as a sanctuary or even temple, but as a sanctuary for socio-spiritual orientation, because what's happening there is the performance of a sacred rite. Now, calling such a place a school detracts from the aspect of sacredness. That aspect gets played down by the fact that a school as an institute is a place for secular teachings rather than spiritual orientation rituals. And so, for a name, I would rather settle for a sanctuary or temple for socio-spiritual orientation instead of school in the bush or mountains, and to characterize what is encountered by orientation candidates there as a socio-spiritual orientation experience. Now, what is it like, this experience? Perhaps, if we analyze it in terms of its varied emotional aspects, we might obtain a coherent understanding of what it is. So now, how do we go about doing that? That is the question. However, I think that, of course, allowing for a very substantial number of omissions in how the rite is performed, I think it might be helpful to relate the surreal experience of that orientation process. So, let's try and do that. But how? Well, for a moment, just imagine a scene in which you feel as though you are in the middle of a ring, a circle, and that a comfortable warmth from the circumference of this circle radiates towards you. And this warmth is due to the fact that the circumference of this circle is in fact fire. But it's a low-burning fire. Nothing threatening, nothing to cause alarm or panic. Gentle warmth. And then, suddenly, quite instantaneously, this fire closes in on you and gets sucked up into your body. It enters at the edge of your toenails. It travels through your body, your being, leaving not an iota of any tissue or cell in your body unaffected, as it travels with swiftness that's comparable to the winking of an eye. And just as you begin to think that this is an excruciating experience, the fire leaves your body at a region above your scalp. And it is gone. It seems as if a current has just passed through your body at lightning speed to exit at this region and disperse itself into the cosmos. And then, at exactly that moment, a moment which is described in Xhosa as ukuthi qwenge. At that transcendent moment, you remember to utter the prescribed statement of affirmation. And you say, Ndi yindoda. To say Ndi yindoda at that moment is an existential acknowledgement of your entry into a state of socio-culturally accredited manhood and an end to inequality of esteem. You see, the words Ndi yindoda, spoken as the sacred language of the orientation procedures, it engenders a mystical consciousness of your personhood. And as you speak those words, you begin to know esoterically, deep within your soul, that a profound change in your self-awareness has taken place. And that as far as you are concerned, things will never be the same again forever. And you also get a cognition that there is something greater than anything you've ever imagined about life and existence before that revelatory moment. And intuitively, you also get to be aware that a pact with this unexplainable great something has been made by you. And that this happened when you said, Ndi yindoda. For Ndi yindoda was an affirmation which placed an obligation on you. An obligation to adhere to all that happens subsequent to this sort of cosmic event with unwavering reverence, because it was a moment when you made a sacred pact with the Master, the Master of all creation, known to your forebears as ulwaluko, umenzi, uThixo, uQamatha, umvelinqangi, Modimo. Scientifically and philosophically referred to as cause, or first cause of all things in creation. Now, that is the ineffable reality with which you made a sacred pact when you said ndiyindoda. Instinctively, that is without any need for external inputs, instinctively, you would understand that all of your conscience-guided conduct has got to be not only consistent, but also in harmony with injunctions that may emanate from that master. So you feel at one with the universe. The bridge or transit point, the moment and action that defined the crossing over from one state of awareness to another for you, was the utterance of the prescribed affirmative statement, ndiyindoda. Well, let's sit back and think. Do you know what I've just done? It's this. I've related a fragment of the socio-spiritual orientation experience. And I think this should enable you to at least appreciate the spirituality inherent in the custom of ulwaluko kwesiXhosa. Ulwaluko to umXhosa is not just a prosaic rite of passage. Even if, of course, socially or sociologically, that is how it is or might be conceived. To him, it's a ritual that resonates with an inherited socio-spiritual temperament, his native, inborn spiritual heritage, his Kabbalah.